Less than a week after your Rangers swept the A's in Oakland, the West rivals meet again for a 3-game series in Arlington. The first game features a matchup of aces, Oakland's Sonny Gray and the Rangers' Yu Darvish. While it's still early, the games between these two teams seem to bring out a lot more intensity. They're always close and hard fought. So get ready for some baseball, Western Division style, as the Rangers and the A's meet next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT Uverse TV. Well, the Rangers back home at Globe Life Park, a very brief 3-game set with the Oakland A's tonight. A pitching matchup that you want to tell some folks that aren't here, hey, turn on the TV and take a look, because it's going to be a dandy in the opener of this 3-game set. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us on this Monday night of Ranger baseball, and it looks like it's going to be a very exciting night here at Globe Life Park. A couple of pitchers, Tom, that are among the best in the American League, Sonny Gray and Yu Darvish.
No doubt about it, Buzz. You've got two of the best teams in the American League, and both of them are starting their opening day starter today. For the Rangers, it's Yu Darvish. For the A's, it's Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray has pitched against the Rangers once this year. They dealt him his only loss so far this season. He's 3-1, 10th in the American League with a 2.25 ERA. Yu Darvish has started 4 times. The Rangers have won all 4 of those games. He's had 3 no decisions. His ERA, 1.61, is 3rd in the American League. So, at least on paper, going into the game tonight, it would look like to be a pretty good pitcher's duel.
It should be, and we'll see what happens as the game unfolds. But the Rangers finally got Yu Darvish a couple of runs last time out, so he can pitch with the lead at that time. Well, the Rangers happy to be back home, even though it's a brief stop. We'll be back with the starting lineups to the first pitch right after this. Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Take the EcoBoost Challenge to see why Ford is the best in Texas. By AT UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PICK-ATT. Rethink possible. By the all-new Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. And by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. A gorgeous evening, a comfortable night here at Globe Life Park. Meeting of the umpires at home plate to exchange the lineup cards. And before we get further along, let's welcome in Emily Jones. Em?
Well, Buzz, this series does have a bit of a special feel to it, probably because of the route in which the Rangers have taken to get here. If you would have told them before the season that they'd have 13 players on the DL and after 25 games they'd be 15-10 and tied for first place in the American League West, odds are they would have said, yeah, we'll take it. And so here they stand, 15-10 and tied with the Oakland A's for the best record in the American League and the American League West, which makes it a little extra special even though it is just April.
Once again, we've got to keep it in perspective. We just got to go out there and play our best game, and what happens, happens. It certainly won't make or break you, but, you know, as a competitor, you want to win, and we'll go out there with that mindset.
And so obviously, as Wash said, as a competitor, you want to win every series, but you have to wonder if the performance that the Rangers had in Oakland just a week ago might have something to do with a desire to set an early season tone in this series because of the difficulties that they've had with the Oakland A's and the fact that they are the two-time defending American League West champions. So perhaps these Rangers want to make a little bit of a statement early on to Oakland, and hopefully Yu Darvish can continue that trend as we have all seen his struggles against these A's. Maybe a sign of things to come from that gritty start he had last time out in Oakland, guys.
All right, Emily, thank you. Well, it'll be an interesting series all the way through. Good pitching matchups in all three ball games. And, of course, here tonight doesn't get much better than Sonny Gray and Yu Darvish. The Rangers trying to make it 4 straight over these Oakland A's. 3 out in Oakland, a couple of them by 1 run. He was able to get the job done out there, and of course it was culminated by that 3-hit shutout tossed by Martin Perez. Ron Washington says, look, his ball club is just taking it day by day, and with the guys showing up, they expect to put forth a good effort every night. And so far, it's worked out to the tune of 15 up and 10 down. Yu Darvish and his teammates taking the field here at Globe Life Park. And Yu Darvish trying to win his second ball game of the year. Get credit for his second win of the year. He's 1-0 with that 161 earned run average. And no decision the last time out against Oakland. Here's the Athletics batting order that will face Yu Darvish here tonight. Starts with Coco Crisp, the center fielder. Jed Lowry is in short. Josh Donaldson bats third and plays third. Brandon Moss, the cleanup hitter. Alberto Callaspo hits fifth. He's the DH. John Deso catches. Josh Riddick is in right field. Derek Martin, the first baseman. And Eric Sogard bats ninth and plays second.
Sonic scouting report for Yu Darvish. He's 1-0 with a 1.61 ERA in 4 starts. In his last 10 home starts, he's had a terrific ERA, 1.87. April 21st at Oakland, he had a no decision. Gave up 3 runs early in the game and then had to battle his way through the last several innings to end up with 6 innings, 3 earned runs, had to throw 116 pitches. Shortest outing in most pitches this season, but he has extra time between starts. If 116 pitches took a lot out of him, it's been 7 days since his last start.
Now, Darvish, who has shown the ability, certainly, to run that pitch count up and not have it have lingering effects on him the next start or 2 starts after that. He'll be out there tonight and see what he can do. And we'll take a look at the Ranger defense tonight. It's delivered to you by DeMontron RV. Michael Choice, another start in left. Leonis Martinez center. Alex Rios is in right. Rich Fielder at first. Donnie Murphy and Elvis Andrus up the middle. Adrian Beltre at third. Robinson Chirinos again behind the plate. Rangers come in 12th in the American League with a .978 fielding percentage. That is just 1 slot ahead of the Oakland A's. So neither ball club has been anywhere close to flawless fielding, but their pitching has not suffered extraordinarily thus far. Both at 15 and 10, tied for first. Coco Crisp, a .254 hitter, steps in. And Crisp has cooled off considerably since we saw him in the East Bay last week.
He had some great swings in the game against Yu Darvish. He was right on every type of pitch that you threw in that ballgame.
You can see that Crisp, a .353 hitter against Darvish in his career. The 0-1 pitch. Just off the outside corner. Crisp, in the just completed 4-game series in Houston, just 2 for 18. And that kind of continued that downward spiral a bit that Crisp had the last game against the Rangers. Next pitch is fouled away. It's a ball and 2 strikes. Crisp, the switch hitter up there from the left side. Couple of home runs, 10 RBI, and struggles that he's had as a right-handed hitter have prompted Bob Melvin to pretty much platoon him with Craig Gentry. Acquired from the Rangers, of course, in the offseason from Michael Choice. Darvish back to the plate, and another foul ball off to the left. Darvish, the 27-year-old from Japan, in his 3rd year now with the Rangers. Taking a look at what the Rangers have done this year when Darvish has started, they are 4-0 in his starts coming up to tonight. And that's important because last year they were just above 500, 1 game above 500 in the starts that Yu Darvish had. So maybe coincidence? I don't think totally.
Well, one thing Yu has done this year, he's given him a pretty good chance to win those games. He only gave up the 3 runs in that one start against Oakland.
Slow breaking ball is in the dirt. The count has gone full to Crisp.
That's a swing and a miss curveball from some players. Not Crisp tonight, though. He laid off of that. Seen a lot of left-hand hitters swing and miss at that same pitch.
Crisp trying to lead off by getting aboard. He'll be followed by Jed Lowry, the shortstop. Darvish okays the sign. The payoff pitch is on the way. Not very well hit down the left field line. It is slicing and foul. Foul by maybe 18 inches. That had a bloop double written all over it. And Yu Darvish, maybe a big sigh of relief to see that thing drop in foul territory.
Well, Darvish followed the 2-2 curveball up with another one. Crisp was out in front of it, hit it right off the end of the bat. Unfortunately, it did go foul. Crisp, as he does a lot, as the Oakland A's hitters do a lot, working a fairly long count right here.
This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat coming. And Darvish thinks better of what he had agreed to, so he steps off, and he wants Robinson Chirinos to go ahead and recycle those signs. Now Darvish is ready. Another 3-2 is coming. Got him swinging.
Couldn't lay off that curveball.
Nope.
Doing 3 straight. One of the reasons the A's are very tough on Darvish is because they seem to foul off a lot of tough pitches, and generally they lay off a lot of pitches that other players on other teams swing at pretty frequently. That time Crisp laid off that curveball once, but the 3rd time he saw it on the 3-2 count, he wasn't able to lay off it. Darvish gets the strikeout. Took a while, but he got the strikeout.
8 pitches worth, but nobody on base and 1 out. Here's Jed Lowry, the shortstop, also a switch hitter. First pitch is inside to him. Lowry, a .292 batter. He is one of the hotter A's hitters. Hasn't fared well against Darvish in his career thus far, just 2 for 13. Darvish with a 1-0. And this one's popped up. Beltre over to take a look. Right at the railing. Reaches in. He can't reach too far.
Well, as they say, Buzz, that's a routine out in Oakland.
Oh, yeah. Oakland, that's halfway between the line and the stands. Just about normal foul territory here for the newer parks. in a place like Oakland that's a dual-purpose facility, and you have a lot of room to accommodate football sidelines and things like that. Now the 1-1 pitch coming. 2-1. Mentioned the series down in Houston. Of course, Lowry hit well in that series. He has in the last 12 ball games. With the A's and the Astros split those 4 games. The A's winning the first 2 and the Astros winning the last 2. Ball's hit high in the air and deep to right field. Going back is Rios onto the track in front of the wall. He makes the catch. If that's any indication, the ballpark's going to play very fair tonight.
Yeah, there's very little wind. What wind there is drifting toward right field. But I'm sure Lowry's going back to the bench saying, you know, I know that's an out in Oakland, but I heard there was a jet stream here. I thought I hit it well enough to get out. Jet stream's not quite as prevalent as people think it is nowadays.
No, sure isn't.
At least we don't see it day in and day out.
So 2 outs here in the first. Josh Donaldson steps to the plate. Donaldson has been hot since we last saw him. And first ball swinging, he pops it foul. That'll be over the A's dugout into the seats. 0-1. Donaldson has hit 3 home runs in his last 4 ball games. 3 for 16 against Darvish. So Yu has been able to handle it pretty well.
Yeah, and that may be the fastball in this count that he sees. He was ready for it, but he didn't get it. He may have to hit the slider now.
The 0-1 pitch. Looks like maybe a cutter. Something moving away from him a little bit. A ball and a strike. Donaldson, a rather odd line of much better on the road average-wise and power-wise than he is at home. He fouls that off the end of the bat.
Well, he
1-2.
He saw another fastball, but it was much better, much more. What am I trying to say? It was located much better. There we go. It was located much better, down and away. The one he just missed was belt high and a little bit on the inside part.
The 1-2 pitch. Fouled away.
Well, he threw that one exactly where Chirinos put his target, trying to get him to swing at a high fastball. He just got a piece of it.
Yep.
Watch. The target is high, and there's the ball right where he wanted it. Good swing, but maybe a little too high for him.
Robinson took one yesterday in Seattle, kind of like that, except he got him right square in the mask.
Sure did.
That at least was a glancing blow. So the 17th pitch of the at-bat, or the inning coming up.
Robinson's featuring some nice yellow nail polish.
And that's in the dirt. 2-2.
Put that nail polish on there so the pitcher can see the signs a little bit easier at night. See how they stand out?
Get that moon glow in there. The 2-2. Just off the outside corner. Boy, Donaldson leaned on it. Wouldn't offer. And, second full count of this first inning. Darvish trying to get Donaldson. He almost got him in that last one.
Yeah, that's one. I'm sure Donaldson has swung at that pitch a few times against Darvish, but just like Crisp was able to lay off at once in the first at bat, he laid off at once.
Payoff pitch.
But not twice.
Well, Darvish strikes out 2, sends the A's down in order. After half inning of play, it's Oakland 0, Texas coming up. And here's the Southwest Airlines Texas Rangers batting order, reported by Ron Washington. Michael Choice leads off. Elvis Andrus is next, in the first baseman, Prince Fielder. Adrian Beltre bats cleanup. Alex Rios in right. Mitch Moreland is the DH. Donnie Murphy the start at second. Leonis Martin hits eighth, plays center. And Robinson Chirinos, the catcher, bats ninth. Now Michael Choice stepping in to start things off. And he takes the pitch low and outside for ball one.
The Sonic scouting report for Sonny Gray is off to a nice start. 3-1, 2.67 is his ERA. He gets a lot of ground balls, a 2.45 ground ball to fly ball ratio. And against the Rangers on April 23rd, he pitched a solid ball game. 7 innings, he went 5 hits. He did give up 3 runs, including a home run to Donnie Murphy. That's the only home run he's given up all season in 32 innings.
2-0 pitch is low, and Michael Choice, who has made a habit in the 6 games now that he has led off, trying to draw a walk.
Well, I believe he walked against Sonny Gray in Oakland and then scored on Alex Rios' triple.
That's correct. And a fastball down the chute. 3-1 the count. Michael at 217, a home run and 8 driven in. Gray to the wind. And it's fouled out of play down the right side. Well, the count has run full. Michael Choice back at home, playing in front of his home crowd. Said, well, the excitement never wears off to have family or friends there, but kind of becoming routine, which is a good thing. Fouled back that 3-2 pitch. We'll try it again. Michael, an Arlington native out of UTA, University of Texas at Arlington. Trying to get aboard to start the Ranger first. Elvis Andrus waits to be next. Sonny Gray to the wind, another 3-2. That's low, ball 4. And Michael Choice has done it again. Choice aboard. Let's take a look at the A's defense. And we'll back up Sonny Gray here tonight. Cespedes is out of the lineup. Brandon Moss in left field. Coco Crisp in center. And Josh Reddick in right. Derek Barton at first base. Eric Sogard, Jed Lowry at the middle. Josh Donaldson at third. John Chaso, he is catching. You see the A's one step below where the Rangers are as far as ranking fielding-wise in the American League. A 1 on, nobody out. And the first pitch to Elvis is inside for ball 1. Elvis at 253, and he's been scuffling of late. A home run, 5 driven in. Elvis just 1 for his last 18 trips to the plate. Choice with a pretty good lead at first. And the pitch is grounded to short. Double play ball to second, and that's all they're going to get. As Michael Choice able to get close enough to Sogard to prevent any thought of turning 2. So it's Elvis at first now with 1 out, and Prince Fielder coming out.
Yeah, the way that took a couple of hops like that, Sogard pretty sure that he's not going to be able to double up Elvis. Elvis gets down the line well. Then Michael Choice slides in just to make sure that he can't comfortably come across the bag.
Oh, Elvis, who is tied for the American League lead in stolen bases with Jose Altuve. 9 apiece. Over there at first. Here's Fielder. And the first pitch to him is low. Again, the overshift by Oakland on. With everybody shifted around to the right. Josh Donaldson, the third baseman, staying on the third base side of second, but not much. Elvis, a pretty good lead at first, being held on by Derek Barton. Prince going the other way and lashes it foul. 209 the average for the Ranger first baseman. 8 RBI, couple of home runs. Fielder said it's still, one good day, one not so good day. Back and forth, and said all I can do is keep working. Inside, 2-1. That may sound to some like a cliche, but it's exactly right, isn't it, Don?
Pretty much, yeah. That's one thing about when you're asked questions in any sport. They tend to be the same type of questions over a long period of time, and so there's a lot of answers that are pretty similar, so they do sound like cliches.
Donaldson's going to try and turn it, and he does, as Barton able to keep his toe on the bag, and that will be a 4-5-3 double play. Both Andrews and Fielder are out. Rangers gone in the first. Nothing across. On to the second. No score. As we go to the top of the second inning, Brandon Moss stepping in to lead off against Yu Darvish. The first pitch, a check swing, it's a strike. 0-1. Moss, a .268 hitter with 4 home runs. And he is tied with teammate Josh Donaldson with those 20 runs driven in. 4 home runs in his career against Yu Darvish. Pitch down and in. A ball and a strike.
Talking about the pitching matchups in this series. In the third matchup, Robbie Ross and Jesse Chavez, they're the 2 pitchers in this series who have the worst ERAs. Robbie's is .245 and Chavez is .232. That's the kind of pitching you're going to see.
Yeah, those really stink, those ERAs.
all the guys in this series are pitching great.
Sure are. Chopper down the first baseline, veers off into foul territory, and the count moves to a ball and 2 strikes. Take a look at the numbers for you. The highest batting average against Yu Darvish in a career. Coco Crisp, Alberto Callaspo, and Brandon Moss all up there above Mike Trout. Trout at the bottom of that totem pole at 323. 1-2. Out of play. The 4 home runs that Moss has hit tie him with Mike Trout for the most against Yu Darvish.
Yeah, that's a great accomplishment, whether you're a left-hand hitter or a right-hand hitter. But I think it's especially impressive that Mike Trout has done it as a right-hand hitter.
Yeah.
As tough as Darvish is on right-hand hitters.
Yep. Darvish going to bring another 1-2 to the plate. Up the middle, but that's right where Elvis is stationed. 1 out. as Alberto Callaspo comes to the plate. Let's welcome Jim Knox.
Oh, I appreciate it, Buzz. Hey, we got the little A's here from McKinney, Texas, rooting for the Rangers, having a good time. You bet. Looking good, guys. And listen up here. Community Corner this evening, we're talking about Lemonade Day for the youth coming up May 4th. This teaches the youth to own and operate their own business. To find out more, log on to lemonadeday.org. All right, guys, like the sign. Appreciate it, Buzz.
All right, Knoxy, thank you.
All those kids had A's shirts, but they had Rangers hats on.
Callaspo takes a knee-high strike. It is 0-1.
Matchup on the second game, Martin Perez and Scott Kazmir has ERAs of 142 and 162. Oop. Oh. There's the kids. A lot of Ranger hats.
Yep, there are.
They have to play for the A's, so they have to have the A's shirts. But when they're out at the ballpark, they're going with Ranger hats.
1-1 pitch. Out of play to the left. 1-2. Yu Darvish, at least in the first 5 hitters tonight, doing something he was not able to do in Oakland. That's consistently get ahead of the hitters. Yeah, he's had a couple of 3-2 counts, but that's where he's gotten ahead of the count and then couldn't get the offer at a couple of close pitches. But much better getting ahead in the count early. And just outside, it's 2-2. Callaspo, a .273 hitter. 3 home runs and 13 driven in. And he has been on a little bit of a downturn of late. Darvish ready, and back to it comes. Slow hook. Good, and get Callaspo to offer at it. And another full count. Strikeout rate. Callaspo strikes out about once every 11.5 times to the plate. That's second best. Darvish with a 3-2. Call strike 3.
Should have swung at it. I don't know how he laid off it. Probably because it broke so sharply he couldn't pull the trigger on it. It looked like it definitely caught the lower part of the strike zone.
Our steel pitch tracker saying right down there at the bottom.
Yep. That was a tight, sharp breaking curveball. Not so fast, Alberto.
Ah, darn, I thought I got away with one. So 3 strikeouts in the first 5 hitters for Darvish. 2 outs, and John Jaso takes a fastball at the knees. 0-1.
Jaso has tough at-bats against the Rangers. He struck out 4 times in the game, which was kind of surprising. Doesn't seem like that kind of guy, but like several of the hitters, he's also struggling right now.
Hard hit ball, and that's into right center field, a base hit. Well, the first base runner of the night for the A's. Jaso's solid single. And Josh Reddick now will come up.
Didn't quite get that one outside where he wanted it. Jaso hit it solidly.
The 1 on, 2 out. Reddick, a .222 hitter, steps in. Reddick with a home run, 5 RBI. Rangers shading him around to the right, not an extreme overshift, but Elvis 3 or 4 steps closer to the bag at second than he would be in normal situation. And Donnie Murphy splits the difference between first and second base, and he's right on the cut of the outfield grass. 0-1 the count. Chirino's having to drop down to the knees and block that pitch.
Talking about the ERAs for the pitchers in these 3 matchups. Not surprising that they would be pretty good. The A's have the best pitching in the league, ERA-wise, 2.95, and the Rangers are 6th at 3.96. Stands to reason they'd have some pretty good pitchers.
That fastball was a called strike. Reddick didn't think so, but didn't really matter because home plate umpire Jeff Nelson threw that right hand up.
He's calling the low strike, but it's not like he's calling a low strike that is seeing the pitches way out of the strike zone. They're touching the bottom part of that strike zone. just barely, but technically that kind of pitch is one that can go either way.
The 1-2 pitch. Slow chopper that will stay in foul territory. And we'll come back and try it again. Saw the numbers for Reddick against Yu Darvish. 1 for 16, I should say. That, I would imagine Reddick's worst numbers against a right-handed pitcher. He normally tears right-handers up pretty well. Another 1-2. Now 2-2. John Jaso, the runner at first. 2 outs in the top of the second inning, scoreless ball game. Another breaking ball that Reddick able to check his swing on. So the count has gone full. Now with 2 outs, Jaso will be off and moving with the pitch. French fielder lets him know that he's going to play behind him. And if Reddick continues the inning, Derek Barton, left-handed hitting first baseman, is in the on-deck circle.
Well, Darvish averaged about 19 pitches per inning his 6-inning start in Oakland, and it's pretty much right there now. This will be his 39th pitch.
Runner on the move and a slowly hit ground ball out to Elvis. On to first, and that'll do it. Well, the base hit, no damage done. 1 man left on after an inning and a half. Rangers nothing, A's nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. Give you a chance to have it shown on an upcoming broadcast, and that's all thanks to AT&T. Just use hashtag Southwest Fan Photo, and your photo might be selected to be aired during the season. We'll have our nightly selection for you a little bit later on. Rangers come to bat in the bottom of the second, scoreless ball game, middle third of the order. Beltre, Rios, and Moreland to face Gray, who deals a fastball strike on the inside corner. Beltre, a .293 hitter. This is 4th game since coming back off the disabled list. Rip and a foul tip. It is 0-2. Adrian Sims coming off the disabled list has hit .308. He's gone 4 for 13. And you go back over the last 13 games against these Oakland A's. He's had multiple hits in 7 of those 13 games. Down on the count here, the Gray. 1-2.
Well, we saw Gray with his good fastball in the start in Oakland, anywhere from 91 to 94. And that last pitch, a good curveball, good overhand curveball. Breaks a lot, straight down, and pretty sharp.
Chopper foul. You might note that while Adrian's batting here, that by playing tonight at third base, getting into the ballgame, he has taken over 4th place all time on games played by a third baseman. He just broke the tie that he is in with Wade Boggs. This is Adrian's 2,215th game as a third baseman. And active hit leaders, he is 4th in that group. And he's just 1 behind Bobby Abreu. He can move up that list also. Gary Jeter, of course, the runaway leader there. Another 1-2 pitch to Adrian. Oh, he got jammed. A little looping hopper out to short. And Lowry able to throw him out from shallow center field.
You know, Adrian's only 34 years old. How did he get so high on that list? He got to the big leagues when he was 19 or 20. He can remain healthy. He can play a few more years. Somehow that ball was about probably 6 inches inside and high. He got the bat on it, unfortunately, not the good part of the bat.
Yeah.
He kept his hands as far inside as they could possibly be without touching his chest. But still wasn't able to get the good part of the bat on that pitch.
Now Alex Rios takes strike 1 from Gray. Rios, a .330 hitter. A home run, 11 driven in. Alex up among the league leaders in quite a few categories. Goes to right center field, but moving over to his right is Josh Reddick. Hauls that in. There are 2 gone. Now Mitch Moreland will come up. Mitch with a couple of hits yesterday. 279, the season average for Mitch. Back over the last week and a half of play. He's hit .346 with 5 walks in the last 9 ball games and raised his batting average some 20 or some 50 points. 1 ball and no strikes. Mitch starting at DH for the 16th time in the last 22 ball games for the Rangers. It's this one to right center field, carrying pretty well. Reddick over in front of the warning track and reaches up to make the catch. Now the Rangers go in order in the second. We have finished 2 at Globe Life Park. Rangers nothing, A's nothing. On Fox Sports Southwest. the Ranger game with MLB.com at bat. That's for your favorite mobile, phone, or tablet. You get live look-ins, instant replays, scores, stats, audio, free MLB.tv game of the day, and a whole lot more. You can download that at the App Store, or you can do it by visiting TexasRangers.com for more information. Scoreless ball game. The A's with the only hit. That a 2-out single by Jaso in the second inning. And Derek Barton will lead off the third. Be Barton, Sogard, and Crisp to face Yu Darvish, who has tossed 39 pitches in the first 2 innings. 1 ball, no strikes. Barton, a 156 hitter. He is without a home run. He has 3 runs driven in this year. But he's a 500 hitter with a home run against Yu Darvish in his career. The 1-0. 1-1.
Barton struggled against right-handed pitchers. He's only 4 for 31 against right-handers. And there it is, 4 for 31. They must add up to 129.
Good quick math, Tom. Another good fastball that hits the outside corner. 1-2. Now Barton started off this year going 2 for 26, and I would assume that was both against left-handers and right-handers. It wasn't successful no matter who was thrown out there. He's turned that around a bit of late. Now 2-2 as the fastball tails away from him. Barton, along with the home run against Darvish, has 5 other ones against the Rangers. So he has 6 total home runs against Texas, the most that he's hit against any team. Darvish nods in agreement and sets the 2-2 pitch. Check swing. Did he go around? No, he did not. The appeal down to the third base umpire, Scott Berry, who put the palms down safe sign out.
Barton was ready to swing at that ball. Pretty good back control. If the ball curved back toward the plate, I think he was going to swing at it, but then he saw it break straight down and stay outside, and he was able to check his swing.
The payoff pitch on the way. Breaking ball, called strike 3.
If you don't think that's a strike, go watch the one that struck out Alberto Callaspo, because it's the exact same curveball and pretty much the exact same spot. 3-2 breaking ball.
Right there.
And it's a little more outside than the one to Callaspo, but same part of the strike zone.
Same result, too.
Same result.
Well, Darvish, that was the 5th batter of the first 8 that he's faced to have the full count. He's gotten all 8 of them out. Or all 5 of them, excuse me, out. That's walking the tightrope, but you know, if you're going to get them all out, I guess nobody's going to complain too much.
The only thing is he's going to be watching someone else pitch in the 7th inning, probably.
Yep. Eric Sogard, a 204 hitter, stands in. And that's part of what, Tom, I know you and I heard Darvish talk about. The thing that he wanted to do differently the most was to get deeper into ball games.
Sure.
And he knew what he had to do. And the first few starts, he did that very well.
Yeah, he pitched 7, 8, and 7 innings in the first 3 starts. But, you know, Oakland's been tough on him. Oakland battles him. They make him work. He would never admit this or say this, and maybe it's not true, but, you know, they're the kind of team that I think could get in a pitcher's head a little bit, because they swing the bats, they've got power, they can hit home runs, they take pitches, and they foul off tough pitches. So they're going to make you throw a lot of pitches. Darvish is probably not the only guy that's thrown a lot of pitches against Oakland.
Right.
And in the game in Oakland, his pitch count was way up there after 3 or 4 innings, and he had to have a couple of decent pitch counts. I think it was in the 4th and 5th innings, or maybe the 5th and 6th innings, to allow him to get through 6 innings in that game.
2-2 to Sogard. Tried to come low and inside, miss. No, another full count. Sogard hitting in the 9th spot. He'll be followed by the top of the order, and that's Coco Crisp. Darvish is ready. And the payoff to Sogard. We'll try it again.
There's been games where it's the 3-2 slider. I guess a lot of these left-hand hitters would get curveballs more than they would get sliders, but he has featured the curveball 3-2. See if he comes back with it again. He did that to Crisp and got Crisp. He fouled off one, but missed the next one. Let's see if Sogard gets another curveball. Certainly throwing it for a strike.
He got another one and pulled it foul right off the screen in front of the Ranger dugout. Sogard hanging tough on those 3-2 breaking balls.
I'd say he's probably commanded that pitch better than his fastball today.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And he may be going out of his way to keep his fastball away from the hitter zone.
The 8th pitch of the at-bat is on the way. Ball 4. First walk of the game issued by Yu Darvish. A 1-out pass. Coco Crisp coming up with Sogard at first. And let's take time here for a Mazda game break with Dana Larson. Dana? And happy 25th birthday, Dana. Glad you could celebrate it with us out here. You're welcome. Isn't that something? Time flies when you're having so much fun. Coco Crisp up for the second time tonight. He has Sogard at first. 1 out in the top of the 3rd inning.
You know, what looks to be a low-scoring game, there's certain guys you want to pitch very carefully to. Guys with power. Sogard's not one of them, though. 9th place hitter, hitting .204 with no home runs. That's probably not a guy you need to throw 7 pitches to and end up walking.
Slow breaking ball to Crisp, hangs outside. Yeah, now you're dealing with the part of the order where you can get hurt even on good pitches.
Yeah.
Got some good hitters up here at the top. Crisp being one of them despite striking out the first time.
If you just watch the pitches to Sogard, I think you might assume that Brandon Moss was up at bat.
2 balls, no strikes. Crisp currently in an 0 for 8 mini slump. 2 for 19 considering the last stop they had down in Houston, and Darvish falls behind him. You know, last week against the Rangers there was no slump involved. 4 for 8, double, 3 RBIs, couple of walks, couple of stolen bases, and that's the Coco Crisp that the A's love to see at the top of the order when he's able to get on base like that and create havoc. And Darvish just 1 pitch short now of putting him on. 3-0 delivery right down the middle. And despite being a leadoff man, Crisp, he had 22 home runs last year. He'll turn on a pitch every now and then and take you out of the ballpark if you aren't careful. Oakland second in the American League in team walks, 116. They're 5 behind Minnesota. Sogard the runner at first. 3 balls, 1 strike to count. Out of play to the left. Oh, another full count. It's at 7 out of the first 10 that Darvish has gone full to. And we'll see if Bob Melvin turns Eric Sogard loose at first. He's stepping off a pretty good lead at first base. Darvish will check him before he comes set. Sogard on the move. The pitch is grounded foul. We'll reset and try it again.
Oakland is 18 for 19 stealing bases. They're not a team that's known for stealing a ton of bases, but they're a team that I think would probably, at least this year, be known for picking their spots pretty good. Only been thrown out once. And that was Yoenis Cespedes.
Darvish again ready. Another 3-2. Sogard on the move. The pitch is looped into center field. Leonis Martin coming in a hurry, plays it on a hop. And around to third goes Sogard. And the A's now have runners at the corners with one out. And Jed Lowry coming up. And boy, before you can say boo, Mike Maddox at the mound. He was crossing the line just about the time the time was called. He had something to say, and he wanted to get out there and say it.
And watch Sogard. He's running on the pitch. A lot of times you'll see a runner right there stop because he doesn't know whether he's going to catch it and end up at second base. Once you get that far, you might as well keep going, because if he catches it, he's going to double you off first base anyway. And it was kind of a borderline play, but Sogard is running on the play. He's going to be out anyway, so he just keeps on going. Might have gauged that he was going to have a ball fall in anyway, first and third instead of first and second. Some runners might have paused and not been able to get to third base.
Well, Crisp with the second base hit of the night off of Darvish. Runners at first and third. Jed Lowry, who flied to right field back in the first, will step in. Crisp, the team leader, with 7 stolen bases now. You got to keep an eye on him. And remember, Yu Darvish, not the best at holding runners close. First pitch gets away from Chirinos, and it hit him. My mistake, it hit him. Chirinos immediately pointed to Jed Lowry, and that ball scooted away from him, and that was blocked from our view by the home plate umpire. But the hit batsman, that will load the bases for Josh Donaldson.
I think if your goal is to get out of this inning with no runs being scored, you're probably better off with the bases loaded, pitching to Donaldson than you are pitching to Lowry. The ball hits him right. I hit him underneath his right toe. Donaldson struck out the first time, but hopefully he hit a ground ball at somebody and have a quick double play.
So here is Donaldson, 7 home runs, 20 RBI. And an 8-game hitting streak snapped yesterday with an 0 for 3. Ground ball wide to third, into left field, a base hit. 1 run is home. Here comes Crisp around third. He will score. And Josh Donaldson, a 2-run single, puts Oakland on top 2-0.
Not a hard hit ball. Neither was the ball that Crisp hit. But it's kind of, the inning's kind of set up with the walk to Sogard, the 9th place hitter. It's a breaking ball. He hits it off the end of the bat. Could be a double play if he pulls it just a little bit and Adrian's able to make a play on it, but he's able to bounce it through the infield. So a little blooper and a dribbler through the infield, but the hit batter and the walk just as responsible for the runs as the cheap hits.
Well, still just 1 out, as 4 A's now have reached base consecutively. Brandon Moss, the hitter, and he takes the changeup outside for ball 1. Moss grounded out to short his first time up there, and again the Rangers shifting around to the right. Elvis Andrus a step on the first base side of second. There's a line drive into right center. That's going to fall for a base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third as Martin comes up firing to the plate. Jed Lowry would have the stop sign put up by Mike Gallego, but it's back-to-back hits, and the bases are again loaded with Alberto Callaspo coming to the plate.
Well, the A's continue to make it tough for Yu Darvish. He's 1-6 with a 4.32 ERA in 8 starts prior to this one. Belt high fastball, that base hit was hit pretty well.
Yeah, that was a case of just completely missing location. Target was set inside, and the ball's right down the middle. Well, base is full once again. Callaspo called out on strikes his first time to the plate, and he lashes one foul to the left. It is 0-1. Callaspo, a couple of grand slams in his career. He's also hit well against Darvish, 7 for 21 coming into play here tonight. The 0-1 pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike. Darvish running that pitch count up even further in this inning. He's up to 66 now. And just has one out in the third inning. Your Steel pitch tracker showing you the location of the first two. Good fastball to the inside corner. It's 1-2. As we showed you first time, Callaspo puts the ball in play. He strikes out very rarely. Darvish would love to have a strikeout right here, however, with the bases juiced and just one out. 2-2. Callaspo making his 16th start at the DH slot for Oakland. Darvish okays the sign, a check of the runners. The 2-2 in the dirt. It gets away from Chirinos.
Got to play first.
And not in time to get Moss going back to the bag. Moss was watching the two guys in front of him. Lowry at third, Donaldson at second. And he put his head down and broke for second, assuming they were going. Lowry stopped halfway down from third. Donaldson stopped.
Yeah, he's lucky. He's lucky he didn't get doubled off first. Robinson just looked at the other runners, and that's what you would do. You'd look at the runners that might hurt you. The guy at third for sure. But he didn't pick up the guy at first. The guy at third stopped, and Moss was just able to get back.
Ron Washington going out there and very slowly giving Joey Probinski an opportunity to look at the replays and get in touch with Tim Bogard to see if there might be a challengeable call.
Is he on the base?
Yeah,
that's the question.
That is, it's going to be challenged because that replay showed right there that when Moss slid back with feet first to first base, his foot was blocked by Prince Fielder's foot. And I think Prince was able to get that tag down. Watch where his foot is and where Prince's foot is.
Does he tag him before he moves his foot? Yep, looked like he did. Looked like the glove was on the leg.
Got to be able to tell from this angle where they got that.
Not on the base now.
Yeah.
Did he get him in time?
Looked like it.
Lance thinks so.
Showing it on the big screen here above the right field home run board.
If he touched him right there, well, I'm watching it, not watching the TV, I'm watching the scoreboard. But if he touched him in the knee while he's trying to jab his foot back into the bag, then he tagged him in time. Couldn't tell whether he was able to touch his knee or not.
Marcus Patillo is the first base umpire, and he's the one that made the call. Jeff Nelson, the crew chief, the home plate umpire, is the one that's in communication with New York. So they'll explain to him what the challenge exactly is, and would be the tag safer out at first base. And then the folks in New York take over at the replay center. They make the determination and let the umpiring crew know. And as soon as they let us know, we will forward it to you.
Does he touch his knee right there? If he does, he's out.
Yeah. Taking a long look at it. That's probably where the delay would be in viewing that play is, did he touch him while he was getting his foot back to the bag?
Tough to tell. If he touches him right there, then he's out.
Yep. And it sure looked like from that angle that he did get the glove on him. Now whether that's clear and convincing evidence,
I don't know if it is.
Hard to tell.
I don't know if it is.
Yeah, we'll have the decision here momentarily.
It is.
It is out. Yep. It is out.
And Sogart's not shaking his head. I think he knew. They were able to determine that the glove touched the leg. He's not arguing the call. He's talking about something else, I think.
Well, he has to be if he'd gone out there to talk about the challenge, the call, then he would be automatically subject to ejection. No, 2 minutes and 16 seconds Ron Washington and the Rangers benefited from the overturn of the call at first. The 3 balls and 2 strikes the count to Alberto Callaspo. Runners at second and third now. 2 outs. Callaspo facing Darvish. Another 3-2 pitch. In the air to left field. Michael Choice shaded toward the line, moves onto the warning track, makes the catch, and that'll do it. Oakland comes up with a couple of runs. They had 2 hits. They got 3 hits and lead 2. After 2.5, 2-0 Oakland. On Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. Bottom of the third inning, Rangers now playing from behind. They trail 2-0. Still looking for their first hit against Sonny Gray. And it'll be the bottom third of the order. Donnie Murphy, Leonis Martin, and Robinson Chirinos. As Gray pours in strike 1. Murphy, 232 with the average. I mentioned in our opening remarks, Murphy, the home run against Sonny Gray. But he lets the bat go here that goes over the A's dugout. Foul ball goes straight back, but the bat kind of helicoptering his way into the first and second row. Other than the gentleman sitting there shaking his hand, must have gotten his finger bent back.
I think he got hit in the head.
Yeah, the guy right behind him got the Ranger jersey on, got plunked. He's got a bat to show for it. A bat and a knot. 0-2 to Murphy. Donnie with a different piece of lumber. Gray back to the plate. 1-2. Murphy had a good road trip. Just completed a 6-game trip, 5 for 17. That home run he hit off Murphy. The first one that, or I should say off of Gray, the first one that Gray had given up. And Gray nailing down the outside corner. Pretty nasty breaking ball. That is the first strikeout for Sonny Gray tonight. 1 away.
Curveball, outside corner, almost.
Well, Donnie pleading his case ever so gently. Leonys Martin takes strike one. Martin at 309 with a home run and 11 RBI. The other way, he gets the base hit by the dive of Donaldson, who is pulled in, respecting Martin's ability to bunt. Well, Leonys takes advantage of the defensive alignment and to bring up Robinson Chirinos. And before Chirinos steps in, let's go down to Emily Jones again. Em?
Well, guys, as you know, Robinson Chirinos has seen his playing time increase of late. He is 11-3, or the Rangers are 11-3 in games he's started, and he's beginning to see production at the plate as well.
I have a chance to play in the big league every day, and I just have to relax, keep doing what I'm doing, focus, trying to help the pitchers to do worse every time I catch, and try to battle every I beat and help the team win every time I have a chance to play.
And guys, as you well know, baseball players, for the most part, are creatures of habit. So Robinson says it's no coincidence that his increased playing time has also caused him to have some more consistency at the plate.
All right, Em, thank you. Yeah, that's two go hand in hand, I would think. Chirinos takes high. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Probably a lot easier to hit, isn't it, Tom, when you're hitting all the time?
I think it is. I think almost every player would say when you know you're going to play and you have the opportunity to get into a groove, I think you feel more comfortable as a hitter.
Gray set the 2-0 pitch. Hit him. Fastball came up and in, and Chirinos caught on that front shoulder.
Well, that's a pitch that really got away from Gray. I mean, he's not trying to hit anybody there, obviously. He's trying to throw a strike down in the count, 2-0. That ball just plain got away from him. He's trying to throw that ball right down the middle of the plate.
And I would think, being ahead in the count 2-0, that Chirinos, the last thing was on his mind was something coming up.
Yeah, would have been the last thing on mine. I'm looking for something I can hit, assuming that a really good pitcher like Sonny Gray going to throw me a strike.
I think that's when you see guys get hurt when they're not when they're looking out over the plate.
It is hard to get out of the way under those circumstances.
So first and second now with 1 out, and Michael Choice takes a big breaking ball that cuts the strike zone in half. Choice drew a walk in the first inning. The 2 on with 1 out. Rangers trailing 2-0. Looking to get some of that back here. Michael Choice with an RBI, at least 1 in 5 straight games. Ground ball should be a double play as Lowry steps on the bag, fires to first, and that will do it. Well, the double play helps out Sonny Gray. Rangers gone on a hit, and they leave one. We're going to the 4th. 2-0 Oakland.
Buzz and Tom's a special guest tonight. We have a few members of the LPGA Tour on hand. Angela Stanford threw out the first pitch. What was that like? I know it was a great experience because you're a big Ranger fan.
Anytime you get to be on the field, it's cool. But yeah, that was fun. That was fun. I told Pettis, get the target out there. It's coming in hot.
Yeah, we do have the video of you throwing it about 100 miles right down the middle of the plate there.
Middle. That's all that matters.
There we go. LPGA event now hits Las Colinas Country Club this week. You have some of the girls here tonight. Who do we have?
We have Drina Pillar, Christy McPherson, Brittany Lang, Cindy Lacrosse, Stacy Lewis, Dory Carter, Heather Brewery, Christina Kim. We got a lot here. We got a lot of caddies. Just nice, relaxing night before the week gets going. Okay, it should be a great weekend for golf, so get on out to the Las Colinas Country Club. Any predictions? Who can win? Stacy would say her. Stacy, you gonna win it?
Absolutely.
Hey, all right. Got a little trash talking going on here, Buzz. We'll get it going. Appreciate it, Angela. Thank you.
All right. Now, what's the poor girl going to say? Nope, I can't win that.
I have no chance. There's no sense me even teeing it up.
Tell you what, we've had a lot of people throw out the first pitch. Not many of them look better doing it than she did.
No, you're right. John Jaso gets his second base hit as he opens up the fourth with a solid single to right field. The A's, who scored twice in the third inning, back at it again to start off the next frame, and it brings up Josh Reddick.
Jaso came into the game 3 for 26, but he has 2 well-hit singles in this game.
Reddick grounded out to short first time up there. A's now with 5 hits off of Yu Darvish. A walk and a hit batter also thrown in the mix. 1 ball, no strikes. Reddick, after the 0 for 1, has that batting average down at .219. Darvish, a check of Jaso at first. And drops in the breaking ball that just stayed outside. It is 2-0. Darvish okays the sign. A check over his shoulder. And a fastball. 2-1. Reddick had a pretty good series down in Houston with 3 for 10. Scored a couple of times, drove in a run. Darvish trying to get him here with nobody out. Showed bunt. At Adrian Beltre trying to come in. Beltre is well off the line and playing back pretty deeply at third. He was scampering toward home plate as Reddick shortened up as if to bunt. And the count moves to 3-1. Chirinos with the signs. Darvish with the set. And a line drive fair down the right field line into the corner. Jaso being waved around third, the throw coming in. He misses the cutoff man, and over to third with a slide goes Reddick. In with the score is Jaso, and the A's lead it 3-0.
There's nothing they could do to keep Jaso from scoring, but I think if Alex hit the cutoff man, they had a pretty good shot to get Jaso at third base. Jaso was going all the way. It wasn't like he saw the throw miss the cutoff man and then he decided to go. It's a low inside pitch, hard, over Prince's head into the corner. I say Jaso scored. Reddick was going all the way to third. Alex plays the ball well off the hop, plays the angle well, turns and fires, but unfortunately it goes over the cutoff man's head, and Reddick is able to go all the way around to third.
A single and a triple. A run across, nobody out. With Reddick at third base, Rangers will pull the infield all the way in with Derek Barton up there. Barton called out on strikes the last inning. And Darvish misses blowing outside for ball 1.
The ball can take a funny bounce there. I think Alex learned from the last homestand. One snuck by him. It tends to hug the wall.
Line drive to left. Tagging at third is Reddick. The catch. Here comes the throw from Joyce. It is up the line, and Reddick scores standing. And the sacrifice line drive out from Derek Barton, and the score is now 4-0 Oakland. So a pair of runs in each of the last 2 innings for the A's. Barton with his 4th run driven in this year. Well, the bases now are empty with 1 out. And Eric Sogard, the number 9 hitter, steps to the plate.
I'm sure Darvish is beginning to feel against Oakland kind of like Felix Hernandez feels against the Rangers.
Yeah.
You know, Felix had a lot more starts against the Rangers. He had 41 or 42 starts. And he hasn't had a whole lot of success against them lately.
No.
And Hughes kind of in the same boat with Oakland. They just right now they've got his number.
Pitch is low. Saw the left-hander Aaron Pareda loosening in the Ranger bullpen. Sogard was really the start of this whole downhill roll by Yu Darvish. He walked with 1 out in the 3rd inning. He was pushed along by a single to Crisp, and then the bases were loaded by Jed Lowry's base hit. Josh Donaldson had a 2-run single.
Hughes in the position where he knows they swing the bats pretty well against him. So you're trying to make good pitches. But then the other part of it is, if it's not a strike, they tend not to swing at it. So you get behind in the count, run your pitch count up there, and it's just one of those games that did not work out. Haven't been many games where he's been gone after 3 1/3.
Nope, sure haven't. But that's what's going to happen here tonight. As Ron Washington out of the dugout, and Yu Darvish, his shortest outing of the year, will be finished, and Aaron Pareda, the left-hander, will no doubt be called in. Well, that'll do it for Darvish. He leaves with Sogard on base, his responsibility. 4 runs across for Oakland after 3 1/3. And Pareda will come in from the bullpen in right center field as he makes his way to the mound. We will take a timeout. Back after this on Fox Sports Southwest. At Globe Life Park, with sweeping views of center field, it provides an unparalleled view of the ballpark. All-inclusive tickets for the remaining 2 games of this Oakland series are just $75. Visit TexasRangers.com/batterseye for more information. Great spot to enjoy the evening, watch a ball game, and enjoy some Ranger baseball. And watch the comeback for the Rangers start after Aaron Pareda gets out at the top of the 4th inning.
Well, Aaron had a good game the other day in Seattle. He pitched a couple of innings and got the win in that ball game. First win as a Ranger. Be his 4th ball game. Doing a nice job coming out of the bullpen. Throwing some quality strikes. Looks so far early in his Ranger career like he could be a very valuable left-handed bullpen guy who definitely has pretty good success against left-hand hitters. They really didn't have much of a chance against him the other day.
No, you're right. We sure didn't. Well, Pareda now will turn Coco Crisp around and make it bat from the right side. Sogard, the runner at first. The first pitch is low and inside for ball one. Crisp 1 for 2. He singled and scored in the third. He struck out in the first. Now facing Pareda. 27-year-old. He's from the just inland from the Bay Area, Walnut Creek, California. And a big guy at 6'6". And a little toss to first will drive Sogard back. Crisp, as you can see, almost 40 points lower as a right-handed hitter. As we mentioned, quite a bit of the time when it's possible, Bob Melvin goes with Craig Gentry against a left-handed starting pitcher. Crisp checking with third base coach Mike Gallego. 1 on and 1 out. A couple of runs across here. A's leading 4-0. There goes the runner for first. The throw is in time. Oh, what a shot right on the bag by Robinson Chirinos, who's now thrown out 5 of 12 would-be base stealers.
Pretty nice, because I thought Sogard got a pretty decent jump. And I think the only way Robinson is able to throw him out is if he throws the ball right on top of the bag, which he does.
Like right there?
Yeah, like right there. That eliminates a good jump when you can make that kind of a throw. And 5 out of 12 is pretty good.
Yeah, that's the first time in the last 14 stolen base attempts that the A's have been caught stealing. 2-1 the count. Here's a great shot at that.
Boy, that thing was right on his arm.
You see where Donnie Murphy caught that ball, let it come to the bag before he caught it, too.
Yeah.
So that all Sogard could do is slide pretty close to it. Ripping a miss by Crisp, and it's 2-2.
Look at that throw. And there's the tag, and his hand wasn't quite to the bag yet. And Las Diaz is right on top of it, too.
And Sogard said, "You got to be kidding me." Did he have that ball in his pocket?
Yeah, I think he felt like he had that base stolen.
Had to. 2-2 pitch to Crisp. And the count has gone full. With 2 outs, Crisp trying to get aboard. Jed Lowry, the shortstop, would be next. Well, the book on Darvish is closed for tonight. 3 1/3 innings. 6 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and a hit batter. Outside, ball 4, and that is the walk, putting Crisp on with 2 out. Well, Pareda loses Crisp, and now he'll face Jed Lowry. Pitch total for Darvish tonight, 83 pitches, 45 strikes, 38 balls. Not what we're used to seeing from you, Darvish. One of those nights. And Tommy, you mentioned it against this Oakland club that, I think in all honesty, you would probably say, yeah, they're a little bit in my head. I'm concerned about them, which is probably saying more for them than any other team that Darvish faces.
Yeah, he doesn't have a problem with most teams, but I guess all pitchers probably have a team that gives them more trouble than other teams.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, Felix Hernandez has the Rangers. And I guess if you took most starting pitchers who have been around and say which team gives you trouble, they probably wouldn't have a hard time telling you which team it is.
1 ball, no strikes. 2-0. I'm not sure that's as true now as it was, say, 30 years ago, when guys tended to stay with one team for a longer period of time, where there were some matchups that, the same guys year after year after year.
Yeah.
And if they were wearing you out early in your career, they were wearing you out late in your career.
Well, that's a good point. Felix Hernandez has started 41 times against the Rangers. He's seen a lot of different guys in the lineup, so maybe it's just the Ranger uniform that's got him psyched out.
Well, Beltre has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Because the numbers for Felix have really gone downhill since Adrian joined the Rangers in 2011.
True. That's true.
So it could be it's just Beltre's in his head.
Yeah.
2-0 the count to Lowry. Coco Crisp, 7 out of 7 this year in stolen base attempts. Jed Lowry hitting in a hitter's count at 2 balls and no strikes. And Pareda making sure that Crisp doesn't get any kind of a walking lead over there. Ty Waller, the first base coach, in to say something to Crisp as Robinson Chirinos went out to talk to Aaron Pareda. Lowry steps back in the batter's box, and Pareda will read the signs. The 2-0. Good breaking ball. See, that time Chirinos didn't even go down and give him a sign. When he went out to the mound, they decided they were going to throw a breaking ball on the next pitch. Go back to flash the signs out.
Going out of his way to block the sign from the guy at first base. So he turned his right leg in so Crisp couldn't see what the sign was, in case Crisp is looking for an off-speed pitch to run on. He was giving the sign, hiding the sign with his right leg, and looking at Crisp all at the same time.
2-2 now the count. Yes, looking into the Ranger dugout to see if there might be something in mind for him. Long look at first. There goes Crisp, and the pitch is popped up. Right side, Prince Fielder waiting for it to come down out of the night sky, puts it away, and that'll do it. So Pareda comes in and shuts the door, but not until the A's had gotten a couple of runs on 2 hits and strand one after 3.5. 4-0 Oakland. Kids every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Southwest, where it's not about the score, it's about the experience. The crowd hoping for a Ranger comeback. It is 4-0 Oakland. Elvis Andrus to start things off here in the Ranger fourth inning. And he takes ball one from Sonny Gray. Another note on Darvish's start tonight. That is the first time in 56 starts that Darvish has not gone at least 5 innings. That is 56 consecutive starts of 5 or more, a club record. And that came to an end here tonight. So way back in his first year, 2 years ago, 2012, Darvish failed to go 5, and it wasn't until tonight that happened again. Elvis 0 for 1. Big breaking ball that nibbles on the outside corner. It's 1-2.
2 double plays have helped Sonny Gray tonight. He's got a pretty low pitch count working because of that. Only 37 pitches here in the fourth inning. A couple double plays, one to end the first, one to end the third.
And no swing on that appeal. Count evens at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now the game that the Rangers beat Sonny Gray out in Oakland, he went 7, but he didn't have a high pitch count then. I think he was around 90 pitches in that game. That's just how he pitches. He's very, very accomplished with that. He's gone full here.
24-year-old.
Yes, it is. Payoff pitch coming from Gray. Weakly grounded out to short. Lowry on the run. 1 out.
Gray's a young kid, 24 years old, perfectly comfortable, throwing a 3-2 curveball to the leadoff hitter in the fourth inning with a 4-run lead. He dropped that curveball in there for a strike with no problem. Pretty accomplished pitching. The other thing we mentioned about Sonny Gray, he's not a big guy, about 5'11", somewhere around 180 pounds. And by today's standards for right-handed pitchers, that's probably 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches shorter than maybe the average right-handed starter.
Fielder takes a strike. Yeah, most of the time the right-handers that become starting pitchers are guys that are 6'3", 6'4", and throw pretty hard.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you almost have to be that way to even get drafted. Prince Fielder grounded into a double play his first time up there. As Tom told you, one of 2 double plays the Rangers have bounced into tonight.
Well, Sonny Gray was the 18th pick in the 2011 draft out of Vanderbilt. So he was a college player at a premium program, very well scouted. And you would have to guess that if he was 6'3" instead of 5'11", he would have been drafted higher than the 18th pick. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a kid that throws 92 to 95 with that kind of a curveball and pretty good, and more than pretty good command of it.
Check swing, and the appeal is no swing for Fielder. The count is even now at 2-2. Yeah, a guy out of the same school a few years before that threw pretty well and got drafted first, and David Price. Of course, a left-hander, but still same kind of tools. And a chopper foul. We'll try it again at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Rangers have just 1 base hit. That was a 1-out single by Leonis Martin in the 3rd inning. Gray has also hit a batter tonight, walked a man. And he has just 1 strikeout. Ground ball up the middle. Behind second is Donaldson, the 3rd baseman. He scrambles up and throws out Fielder. 4 out number 2. Pretty nifty play by a 3rd baseman playing in the shift.
Yeah, if you're just looking down at the field, you'd say nice play by the shortstop. He looked like a shortstop. I think a lot of 3rd basemen probably could play shortstop. They might not have the range of the regular shortstop, but as far as making the plays and making the throw, most of them can probably do that. We're going to have a guy on here in the 5th inning. I think I'll ask him whether that's true or not. Think Mac would have an answer for that?
Yeah, if you tell him now, he'll come up with one if he doesn't have one handy.
I'm going to warn him ahead of time.
Adrian Beltre, a ground ball to short, his first time to the plate. 0-1 pitch. There's a high chopper out behind second. Lowry, submarine over to first. And 3 ground balls. The Rangers are dispatched very quickly by Sonny Gray and the defense. We're going to the 5th inning. The A's 4, the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. With Southwest Airlines to send you on a VIP flyaway experience with your home team in LA. Text VIP to 638761 for your chance to be treated with VIP status. Now we go to the top of the 5th inning. Now that we're back home, at least for a couple of days, on our Fox Sports Southwest telecast, Mark McLemore in to join us. Good to see you, Max. It's been a week or so.
It has been a week.
You've been okay?
I've been gone. I've been good. Missing you guys, though.
Well, I've been seeing you every now and then in the studio and just checking in, make sure everything's good.
It is good.
Mac, we were talking about with the shift, a lot of times the third baseman ends up at shortstop. And I was wondering if you thought that most third basemen, if they had the same range as a shortstop, could handle playing shortstop. Do you think most third basemen are third basemen, or could they slide over and play a little shortstop without the range?
They're at third base for a reason.
Because they can't play shortstop?
Exactly
there you go. That's why we got you up here.
Yeah, most third basemen don't have that range, and usually they're a little bit bigger and a little bit slower than you'd like to see
So
a shortstop.
If the regular shortstops had the same range as a third baseman, then could they play short? Is range the factor, or they still lack the ability to play shortstop?
I think it's
longer
more
throws.
I think it's more quickness as opposed to range. But
right.
Quickness, if you're quicker, that obviously means you're going to have a little bit more range. But it's really that quickness, that first step, that really makes it for a middle infielder. So
right.
if you've got that first step, you can probably play in that middle infield.
Nick Martinez, while we were talking, is taking over on the hill and dealing to Josh Donaldson, who sends one down the right field line. But that is foul and off the sidewall. Well, it moves the count to 3 balls and 2 strikes. Well, the first action we've seen for Nick Martinez coming out of the bullpen, taking over for Aaron Porreta.
It looked like Wash wanted him to have a comfortable relief appearance where he started an inning rather than come in the middle of a jam. Pareda pitched 1/3 of an inning, got out of that inning, and then Nick starts clean in this inning.
And Donaldson caught window shopping there as Nick Martinez just pounded the outside corner. 1 out. Second time Donaldson has gone down on strikes tonight.
I think when his start was over, most people assumed that he would go back to the minor leagues, but with all the disabled list people that the Rangers have and the way the roster is with 40-man, a 40-man limit, difficult to maneuver on a 40-man roster with so many guys on the disabled list. They felt that Nick has the maturity and the talent to pitch out of the bullpen.
Pretty good changeup on the first pitch to Brandon Moss.
I'll say.
Tried it again and left it outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Back, I remember when you and I were doing the game down in San Antonio, and we got our first look at Nick Martinez down there. He's very impressive, and he has not disappointed since.
No, he hasn't. He's been really good. I mean, you know what I like about him, he's very aggressive in the strike zone. He gets the ball, he gets up on the hill, gets his sign, and he's coming after you. So I like that about him. He doesn't, walk around the mound and think about what pitch I'm going to throw next and, second guess himself. Trust that catcher, gets up on the hill and goes.
He's falling behind here to Moss at 3 balls and a strike. Moss 1 for 2 here this evening. 4-0 A's. Oakland has out hit the Rangers 6-1. And there's a strike to fill the count. Rangers in that infield overshift for Moss. Next pitch is pop foul. That will reach the seats over the third base A's dugout. And it remains 3-2.
It's almost a Prince type of shift on. Beltre is the only one left on the left side of the infield. So.
Beltre is going over there to prove you wrong. I'm going to play shortstop. I'll show McLemore.
If anybody can, it probably would be him.
Probably. Foul tipped into and out of the glove of Robinson Chirinos. Moss, a .274 hitter. 4 home runs, 20 RBI. The 20 RBI now second on the team after Josh Donaldson pounded in 2 more to his total in the 3rd inning. Another 3-2 pitch. And another foul ball.
Teddy's got a pretty effective fastball. Moss is swinging the bat pretty well. And he's not catching up with that inside fastball.
Well, the 9th pitch of this at bat is coming up from Nick Martinez. Call strike 3. Oh, no, it wasn't.
Pretty close.
Robinson Chirinos came up like he was going to throw to Beltre, and the call was not given.
Wow.
Let's see where it is.
Right there.
He must have blinked on that one.
Could have been a strike. It's been a strike at times today anyway. Seen that pitch call. Not that time, though.
Jeff Nelson, maybe somebody tied his right arm down. He got it stuck in his belt loop or something. I don't know. So a strikeout, now a walk. 1 on, 1 out. Alberto Callaspo takes strike 1. Callaspo 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a fly ball to left. Ranger infield looking for that double play ground ball from Callaspo. Changeup couldn't entice the switch hitting DH to go after it. Martinez studying the signs from Robinson Chirinos. Now the young right-hander is set. The 1-1 pitch. Chopper out towards second. Murphy charges, makes the tag, and then on to first. Well, great reactions, great forethought by Donnie Murphy. A 4-3 double play. And that takes care of the A's. We're halfway through the ball game. It's Oakland 4, Texas nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. For the start of a Ranger comeback here in the 5th inning, 4-0 Oakland. Alex Rios to start things off against Sonny Gray, and Gray has been outstanding tonight. Drops a breaking ball in for strike 1 to Rios. Alex, a fly ball to right his first time up. 327 the average for the Ranger right fielder. Didn't really want to and couldn't stop himself. 0-2. Sonny Gray now just passing the 50 pitch level. Very impressive for the young man. 0-2 pitch. That time Alex able to stop his swing. A ball and 2 strikes.
You know, he looks really sneaky. I mean, from this distance he looks sneaky, so I can't imagine what he must look like being in that batter's box.
I haven't seen you flinch up here. You flinching without me noticing that?
No, Mac's glad he's up here.
I am, that's for sure.
One thing we say about all these young A's pitchers, they all throw strikes and they all have off-speed pitches.
Yep.
And they really know how to pitch. He's probably got a little more commanding stuff than most of their young pitchers.
Yeah,
got a lot of good ones, but I don't know if any of them have better stuff than him.
A little more polish around the edges, I think. 2-2 pitch. Right field toward the line. A long run over there for Reddick, but it's back in the 3rd row. Come back and try it again. And part of that would have been the college career at Vanderbilt, getting that kind of experience. Sonny Gray kind of tucking that into the memory banks, all the good competition he pitched against. A lot of summer league competition too, which is really good. Right-hander back to the plate. Alex just able to get a piece of that breaking ball. Rangers just 1 hit. That was a 3rd inning 1-out single by Leonis Martin. Got him swinging.
That looked more like a cutter or a slider.
Let's go back to last inning. At the end of last inning, we'll show you the Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery of the ball game. Little chopper out to second. Donnie Murphy. Mark, is that play by Donnie Murphy a result of a lot of forethought, or have you done it so many times that's just his reaction to that play?
That's both. You have to have forethought. You have to know, hey, if that ball is hit where I have to charge it, I'm going to try and tag that runner, or at least make that runner stop and get him in a rundown. You know, get the runner, throw the ball to first base, get it out there, and then have him in a rundown. So you've got to know that before that ball's hit, and I'm sure he's had that opportunity, you know, a million times already. But you still have to look at that and run that through your mind before it happens.
So what do you do as the runner?
You want to stop. You've got to stop. You can't run into an out like that. You either stop, or you've got to bump him somehow and just not let him complete the double play. At least not make it that easy.
Now, if you're the runner and he goes to tag you, you can pretty much pound him as hard as you want, right?
Pretty much. And
I mean, you can't run out of your way to do it, but you can run right at him.
Yes, you can. And I had that happen one time.
I did it to you?
He did. Oh yeah, he did. And well, it ended up being, I kind of shot Tim because I got ready for it. And it was, remember Rick Manning?
Yeah.
My rookie year, probably my first month in the big leagues, I came in just like that, and he stopped, and then he started again, and I saw him go like this, and I kind of just braced myself. So he kind of just, I didn't turn the double play, so he did, he did his job. But, that was the first time someone had ever done that. Nobody had ever done that in the minor leagues to me, but Rick was a smart base runner, a smart ball player.
2-2 to Moreland. Came on the fist and right into the teeth of the shift as Sogard throws him out from shallow right field. 2 up, 2 away. Donnie Murphy coming up. And before we do that, let's go to Dana Larson with a Mazda game break. Dana? All right, Dana, thank you. Here the A's are leading the Rangers 4-0. Donnie Murphy called out on strikes as he led off the 3rd inning tonight against Sonny Gray. First pitch is high and tight for ball 1. Gray has now retired the last 6 that he has faced in the Rangers. 2 strikeouts. Murphy was the first, and Alex Rios the second. Well, you just heard from Dana over there in the Captain Morgan Club. That's what she looks like when she's not prepping to go be on the air.
Nice jacket, Dana.
That's a pretty big jacket to fill, Dana.
Yes, it is. It's your size. If I guess right. I forgot my blanket, and it's cold up here. Thank you for letting me borrow it.
Anytime, birthday girl.
My birthday suit.
We can't go there. Even though this is cable, we can't go there.
That's why she's got the jacket on.
1 ball and 1 strike to Murphy. Out of play to the right. It's 1-2. Now let's get a word from Emily Jones about this whole thing.
I know it's Dana's birthday and all, but are we going to call her soft at all? It's like 80 degrees outside, and she's up there rocking a coat. Dana, I don't know what's worse, you wearing the coat or Elvis yesterday in Seattle. It's like 50, and he's wearing earmuffs.
Hey, wait a minute. They have great air conditioning in the Captain Morgan Club. I'm sorry.
You'll remind me of that when it's 100 degrees this summer.
Sogard, a spin and a throw to first. That'll do it. Rangers out in order. One more time. 1, 2, 3, and gone. Mac, thanks for joining us. We'll look for you on Rangers Live after the ball game.
All right, guys.
4-0 Oakland, on to the 6th. Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Take the EcoBoost Challenge to see why Ford is the best in Texas. Nick Martinez back out to the hill starting the 6th inning. At a 1-2-3 fifth, and he works here to John Jaso, and the new second baseman Josh Wilson has entered the ball game to take over for Donnie Murphy. Hope Donnie didn't get hurt on that collision play or the tag play.
Yeah, generally in this kind of a game, you wouldn't take Donnie out of the game for a defensive replacement or any kind of replacement unless something happened to him. So we'll look into that.
And our director Dave Burchett reminded me he did foul a pitch off his foot. It could have had something to do with that.
Yeah.
We'll get word and pass it along to you. Fastball from Martinez for a strike. It's 3-1. And 3-2. Nick comes back. Jaso 2 for 2 tonight. A pair of singles, a run scored. Martinez trying to get him to begin this 6th inning. Well, he got his bat.
Sure did.
Don't think you're going to be able to use that one again. Jaso checking with his counterpart. Robinson Chirinos looking to get him in the backswing.
Yeah, must have got him in the backswing.
Robinson checking on the helmet. And that's really why I guess the guys started wearing those big helmets under a mask, and now they're almost like a hockey mask. Right there.
Yeah. I think that's exactly why. I don't know with a mask if you can get hit by a foul tip on that. I guess you probably could, but that's the main reason right there. If you get hit on the head without a helmet, that could cause some damage.
Alex Rios takes care of that Jaso fly ball.
Hit with a bat. Did you see Ryan Braun the other day swinging the bat in the dugout and hit Gene Segura?
No, I didn't see that. Is that what happened to him?
Yeah, he was in the top step of the dugout. And why he's wheeling the bat around there, it's pretty careless. But he wheeled the bat around trying to get loose, and Segura was walking in the dugout, hit him right in the head, and they had to take him to the hospital.
Probably left a mark. Wow, that it's a little dangerous to be doing that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that in the dugout. It's kind of careless on the part of Ryan Braun.
First ball swinging, Reddick pounds a breaking ball up the middle for his second hit of the night. So he is aboard with 1 out, and Derek Barton will come up. That play where Donnie Murphy fouled that off of his foot. Got him right in the instep.
I guess that would be a pretty good guess as to what happened with Donnie. To Donnie.
A 1 on, 1 out. Derek Barton, a sacrifice fly as last time, 0 for 1. As he struck out back in the 3rd inning. Barton now at 152 for the year. He's got Reddick at first and 1 out here in the 6th. Nick Martinez keeping an eye on Reddick. 4 runs on 7 hits for Oakland. No runs on 1 hit. All the Rangers. Neither club has committed a miscue tonight. The 1-0. Held high strike. Nick Martinez entered the game to start the 5th inning. In case you missed it, Yu Darvish went the first 3 1/3. First time in 56 consecutive starts that he has not gone at least 5 innings. He was out after 3 1/3, 4 runs, all of them earned on 6 hits, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Also had a hit batter. Rangers, though, trying to come back in this game. They've got their hands full with Sonny Gray the way he's throwing. Martinez is set for the 2-1 pitch. Now 3-1. Martin hitting in the number 8 slot will be followed by the second baseman, Eric Sogard. Martinez a check of first and the 3-1. That's going to slice out of play down the left side. So the count is now full. You have to kind of wonder. It's been very, very solid pitching against the Rangers tonight. You wonder how much that come from behind a loss that the Rangers had yesterday in Seattle, playing into their life tonight. It's they're a little bit dead, but it's also easy to say, look, they've got Sonny Gray twirling a dandy at them, and that can make anybody look dead.
Yeah, it's tough to look alive when you've only had one hit. He's pretty much shut them down through 5 innings.
Payoff pitch is on the way. There goes Reddick. The pitch is outside. And ball 4 puts 2 runners aboard for Eric Sogard. Well, Mike Maddox going to make a quick visit out to his young right-hander. You know, the one thing that has impressed the Rangers about Nick Martinez is his ability to throw strikes, and with a couple of different pitches and virtually at any count. I would imagine what Mike is talking to him about is going back to what you do well. Spot up your fastball and let everything work off that.
And with the starter gone early, this is one of those games where you're looking for the long man to come in and give you 3 or 4 innings if he can to save the rest of the bullpen. Now if the game gets Rangers score and make it a little closer, all that strategy changes. Right now the Rangers are looking for Nick to pitch well and give him some innings.
Here's Sogard, who has walked both times he has come up tonight. Takes a pitch a little bit low for ball 1. Sogard walked and scored the first Oakland run in the 3rd inning. And he walked in the 4th and was caught trying to steal second. Reddick at second, Barton at first. The pitch is a strike. 1-1. Looks like Chirinos was expecting something other than what he got. Look at a fastball that he got, and it appeared that he was almost going down to block the pitch, like he thought it was going to be a breaking ball and go into the dirt. He started to go down after, like he was going to have to block it. He just kind of boxed up the fastball.
Probably glad to get a glove on it.
Yeah. Next pitch on the outside corner. It's 1-2. Sogard, as you saw, a 204 hitter. He has 2 teammates aboard, first and second. And the 1-2 pitch. That's out of play to the left. The Rangers still plenty of time here tonight to work some comeback magic. Tomorrow night, Martin Perez and Scott Kazmir. Battle of pretty good left-handers who are off to great starts for their respective teams. We're with you at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports Southwest. And our AT&T U-verse will show you the particulars for tomorrow night's game. As Robinson Chirinos and Nick Martinez out there. Kazmir with the 4th best ERA in the American League. Martin Perez with the best ERA in the American League. And of course, Martin coming off back-to-back shutouts. So he is within one of the team record that Charlie Huff has. 3 consecutive shutouts. Now the 1-2 pitch. And he just left the breaking ball a bit high and outside.
Kazmir has given up a 183 opponent's batting average, struck out 31 and walked 6. So he's been at the top of his game through 5 starts.
And the count is gone full now to Sogard. Sogard hitting 9th. He's trying to extend it for Coco Crisp. 3-2 with 1 out. Martinez a check of the runners. And Sogard pops it up. Adrian Beltre coming down the line. The infield fly rule is in effect. And Adrian gets it for the 2nd out. So 2 gone, and Crisp coming up for his 4th at bat of the evening. He is 1 for 2 officially. He has walked. He's also had a single and scored, along with a strikeout. Crisp now will turn around once again to hit from the left side. Got the word from the Rangers clubhouse on Donnie Murphy, diagnosed with a bruised left instep. X-rays were negative on the foot, so that's good news. Day to day, that doesn't make it hurt any less. At least you know it's not broken. Day to day, he'll be reevaluated tomorrow.
And Shin-Soo Choo could be eligible to pinch hit. Sounds like he made some progress running the bases today. Hopeful that he'll be back maybe as the DH soon.
Throw almost goes into center field, and Chirinos looked like he thought Elvis was going to cut in behind Josh Reddick at second.
Looked like he was trying to drill Reddick with the ball.
Well,
Elvis is going to back it up.
That could have been too. Good thing Elvis saw that.
That didn't miss Reddick by much.
No.
It bounced straight in front of him. Could have hit him right in the elbow.
Now 2 balls and no strikes to count to Crisp. Martinez a long look. The pitch is a strike. 2-1. Ranger infield shaded around to the right. Josh Wilson a little more than halfway toward first base from second. And the pitch is outside. It's 3-1.
Crisp is only hitting in the 250s, but his on base percentage is in the 380s. He's walked more than he's struck out this year. 14 walks, 12 strikeouts.
And if Crisp extends the inning down to the middle part of the Oakland order. And ball 4 will load him up for Jed Lowry.
We've seen Nick start a couple of games. His command is probably a little bit less today than it was in his 2 starts. He's thrown 44 pitches. Hasn't gotten through his 2nd inning of work yet. 22 balls and 22 strikes. So he is struggling a little bit to throw strikes, which we haven't seen from him.
Adrian Beltre, Elvis Andrus out there to have a talk with him. Robinson Chirinos giving him a pat on the back. And Crisp down at first base after the 2-out walk. Derek Barton at second, Josh Reddick at third, and Jed Lowry will step in. Lowry 0 for 2, was hit by a pitch. The only time he reached base, that was back in the 3rd inning. 1 career grand slam for Lowry. Martinez will continue to work from the stretch with the bases full. And a looping foul off to the left, back into the seats. 0-1. Chirinos waiting for Lowry to get back in before he flashes the sides out. Well, he'll give the series. And Martinez has picked out one that he wants. The 0-1 pitch in the air to left field. Michael Choice gliding over to his right toward the line. Makes the catch, and that'll do it. The A's load the bases on a couple of walks and a hit, but they strand 3 after 5.5. 4-0 Oakland. Inning brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $400 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Cecilia Gable from Saginaw. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Cecilia Gable from Saginaw will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, Leonis Martin, who owns the only Ranger hit of the night, will lead things off against Sonny Gray. And first pitch comes back to the inside corner for strike 1. Martin, Chirinos, and Choice. First 3 to face the talented young right-hander Sonny Gray. And he has the advantage in the count after the foul ball, 0-2.
He's got a really way above average curveball, the way he can command it, keep it down out of the middle of the plate.
Very, very good feel for the art of pitching.
Sure does.
Call strike 3. Leonis knew it. Third strikeout for Gray. 1 gone for Robinson Chirinos.
Talked, he's not a big guy, but he packs a lot of power in the body and the arm that he's got. Above average fastball, above average curveball. He also throw a changeup and either a cutter or a slider.
Robinson Chirinos hit by a pitch. Sonny Gray coming up and in and got it too far in first time. Got Chirinos on that front shoulder. And Robinson looks at strike 1.
He's doing to the Rangers today what Martin Perez did to the A's in Oakland.
He sure is. You're right. It's a real good comparison and very similar styles of pitching from different sides. And Lowry shovels it over to Donaldson, who almost threw Chirinos out.
Looked like he did it on purpose.
Well, Chirinos aboard on what will, I'm sure, be an error. Charged to Jed Lowry.
Tries to scoop it on a hop. Shovels it to Donaldson, who, as rapidly as he could, gets it over to first base. So he's playing flips.
Well, they gave a base hit to Chirinos.
Thank you very much. Glad I used pencil. I can just erase that E6. If they change it back, I'll erase the single that I've got in there. Right.
There you go. A 1 on with 1 out. And Michael Joyce, who has walked and grounded into a double play, is at the plate. 213 the average. Gray sets for the 0-1 pitch. That's in the dirt. Gets away from Jaso. So down to second goes Chirinos with a wild pitch.
Well, you look at Sonny Gray, to get 4 runs, you have to get a lot of base runners and a rally because he doesn't give up many home runs. The home run to Donnie Murphy is the only one he's given up this year in 37 innings. And he only gave up a couple last year while he was up in the big leagues. Nine or 10 starts at the end of the season last year. And most of the runs he gives up come early. 5 of his 8 earned runs came in the first 3 innings.
Up the ladder goes Lowry to snare that shot off the bat of Michael Joyce. 2 gone.
Like a base hit to left field, but Lowry had another plan. Last year, 20 of the 22 runs he gave up came in the first 3 innings.
No, 2 gone now. Chirinos still at second. Here's Elvis, who has reached on a fielder's choice and grounded to short. Out of play down the right side. Elvis now just 1 for his last 20 times to the plate. Draw that back over the last 8 ball games now. He's hitting right at 100. Seen his batting average drop some 70 points. 0-1 pitch. Behind him, and that caroms down toward first, so Chirinos on to third on, well, to call that a wild pitch would be an extreme understatement. Elvis probably wondered what in the world was going on. That ball was 2 feet behind him.
Well, what's up with that pitch? He had one get away with him earlier when a 2-0 pitch hit Robinson Chirinos. But that, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's pitching a shutout with pretty good command, and he throws one 2 feet behind him.
Well, now Chirinos at third base in the count of 1 ball and 1 strike to Elvis. Gray will continue to work from the stretch, and Elvis chops 1 to third. Donaldson bobbles, recovers in time to throw him out, and that'll do it. The Rangers get a hit, but they strand 1. We're going to the 7th inning. It remains the A's 4 and the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. A distinct difference in the two teams. A's have 6 walks, 7 hits, and a hit batter. That's 14 base runners. While the Rangers, only 2 hits. That's been it as far as the base runners are concerned. Thus, 4-0 in favor of Oakland. As Josh Donaldson leading off in the top of the 7th inning. Fouls it off to the right. It is 0-1. Donaldson singled home the first 2 Oakland runs. That was off Yu Darvish back in the 3rd inning. Other than that, Donaldson has struck out twice. Once swinging and once called. Inside, 1-1. Donaldson was the first hitter that Nick Martinez faced when he came into the ballgame to start the 5th inning. So Nick starting his 2nd time around the order. And misses off the plate inside. It's 2-1.
Nick's had to throw a lot of pitches, 49, 25 strikes and 24 balls.
There's a strike to the outer edge. 2-2 now. Martinez, the 23-year-old from Hialeah, Florida, by way of Fordham University. And that breaking ball didn't miss by much. 3-2. Well, Donaldson trying to start off the 7th inning by getting aboard. He'll be followed by the left fielder Brandon Moss. Payoff pitch. In the air. Right field. Bit of a lazy fly ball out there to Alex Rios. That is out number 1. Now Brandon Moss will step to the plate. Moss 1 for 2 tonight. Had a walk his last time up. That was in the 5th inning. In the 3rd inning, he singled. And in the 2nd inning, he grounded to short. Rangers employing the overshift. That ground ball to short was actually a ground ball right back up the middle that Elvis Andrus handled easily because he's stationed very close to directly behind second base. 274 Moss's average. And first ball swing, he pops this one up. Beltre over, but that ball back about 6 rows.
Moss has had nice opportunities against the Rangers, and he's taken advantage of them. He's played 34 games, hit in the 290s, had 10 doubles and 8 home runs against the Rangers in those 34 games. He swung a good bat against the Rangers. A guy that kind of blossomed into the role he has now late in his career. Longtime minor league player, really didn't get a chance to play frequently until he got to the A's. Boy, he's capitalized on that opportunity. A major part of the middle of the lineup of a good team.
Nice pitch by Nick Martinez to get the inside corner. 1-2. Hey, you just never know when it's going to come together for a guy, do you?
No.
I mean, for a lot of guys.
And, you know, Nelly Cruz was kind of similar.
Yeah.
But, you know, he spent a lot of time in AAA, had some big years. But it was late in his 20s when he blossomed as a frontline power hitter with the Rangers.
Yep. 2-2 the count to Moss. Moss, in case you were wondering, playing tonight because Yoenis Cespedes has missed now the last 4 games that the A's have played.
It's one thing to acquire a player in free agency for a lot of money and get good production. That's kind of what you're paying for. But in Moss's case, you acquire a guy, might have been a minor trade or maybe a minor league free agent. Comes to camp, not making a lot of money, non-roster guy, makes the team and performs like a $10 million player.
Well, there's a towering fly ball to fairly deep right field.
It had some hand time, didn't it?
It did. That is out number 2, and Alberto Callaspo coming up. The fans can vote on the patriotic promotional giveaway they want to receive on September the 11th. Choose from a camo shirt, a patriotic shirt, a canvas print of the ballpark, or a camo cap? Send us your vote using the following hashtags on social media. Hashtag camo shirt, hashtag patriotic shirt, hashtag canvas, or hashtag camo cap. September 11th patriotic giveaway is sponsored by Fanatics. Here you go, 3 fly balls, 3 outs. A's gone. It's stretch time at the ballpark. Oakland leading 4-0 over your Rangers. At the bottom of the 7th inning, Rangers need 4 to get even with Sonny Gray and the A's. Prince Fielder starting things off, and he takes a bit high for ball 1. Field tonight has rounded out a couple of times, once into a double play. Sonny Gray with just 76 pitches as he works here in the 7th inning. And he misses low and outside. 2 balls and no strikes. We'll take a look now at our Ford leaderboard. ERAs in the American League West. Martin Perez leading since 2013 with a 184. Sonny Gray not far behind. There's a little looper out to left field that went right to Brandon Moss. The fielder flies to left to start the 7th inning. And let's go over and say hello to Jim Knox. Jim?
I appreciate it, Buzz. Real quick, I think we found the Rangers fan who traveled the farthest. This is PC from Botswana, located right next to South Africa. How'd you become a Ranger fan from Botswana?
I came a Rangers fan because my friends support the team, and they bought me the cap.
They bought the cap, did you? Okay, what do you think, taking in your very first Ranger game?
They are beautiful. They play well. They need to score some goals.
Need to score? Okay, all right. PC, well, good to have you out here, and you head back tomorrow, right?
I head back tomorrow.
All right.
I'll die a Texas Rangers fan. Yeah!
Yeah, all right. I like that. Good, good day, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh. Botswana, is that what?
Yeah.
That's great. I didn't know he had a good day mate going down there, but apparently they did. Knoxie knows more than I do about it.
I think Good Day Mate goes worldwide when
that-
Knox is
That pretty much universal?
Yeah, pretty much a universal
Good
phrase.
0-2 to Adrian Beltre. Beltre is grounded out a couple of times, both to the shortstop Jed Lowry tonight. Gray to the wind, and call strike 3.
Boy, he brought that cutter right on the inside corner. Tough pitch to hit.
Well, 2 outs as Alex Rios comes to the plate. Let's take time for a Boston game break. Here's Dana Larson. Dana. All right, Dana, thank you.
How about those Brewers? 18-7.
They're rolling over everybody, it seems like.
Yeah, they're getting some pretty good hitting. Their lineup is strong. They're getting some great pitching. I guess that adds up to 18-7, hitting and pitching.
Sonny Gray drops in a big hook for a strike. It's 1-1 to Alex Rios. Rios 0 for 2. Fly ball to right and a strikeout. Gray now with the strikeout of Beltre has 4 punch-outs. And there's a looper to right center. That's going to fall for a base hit over the cutter off Coco Crisp, and Alex Rios gets his first hit of the night, the 3rd on the board for the Rangers.
Curveball down and away in the strike zone. Alex serves it out to right center field. Rangers need a long ball to get back in this game. Home run right here kind of turns everything around. Makes it entirely, gives you an entirely different feeling about the game.
Here's a guy that can do it for you, too.
Go for it, Mitch. I picked him the other day. I'm going to pick him now, too.
Are you?
Even though this guy's only given up 1 home run in 40 innings.
And Mitch taking a fastball. You want to revise it? That was his pitch.
That was the one I thought he was going to hit out of the ballpark. He chose not to swing at it, though.
Yeah, maybe he's got something better in mind.
Pretty good fastball, 94 miles an hour in the inside corner.
Rios a short lead at first. The 0-1 pitch. Almost got a little hanger there to work with. Fouled it straight down. The Moreland in a hole now at 0-2. Mitch a fly ball to right, a ground ball to second. And they employed the extreme overshift with Moreland up there. You got Eric Sogard, the second baseman, a good 40 feet out into shallow right field.
Because that's essentially the Prince Fielder shift right there.
Sure is. Moreland back in the batter's box now, taps the outside corner with the business end of that bat. Gray sets. Now the 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Foul tip into the glove of John Jaso, and that will do it. Rangers get a 2-out hit, but strand a runner. We're going to the 8th. It's the A's 4, the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. Our AT&T fan photo of the night, brought to you by AT&T. Adrienne, nice group down at the ballpark, and we appreciate the photo. You can maybe get your photo on one of our telecasts. Hashtag Southwest Fan Photo. Tweet us your best photos, and we'll select one for virtually every ball game. John Jaso is 2 for 3 tonight, starting off the 8th inning, a big rip and a miss against Nick Martinez. Martinez beginning his 4th inning of work. Faced Jaso one other time tonight. That was in the 6th, and Jaso skied to right field. Martinez back to the plate. The fly ball hit to right field toward the line, toward the corner. And, gliding effortlessly. Alex Rios makes the grab, one away.
That's a graceful ball player out there. Makes everything look smooth and easy.
Good.
I was just going to say, Nick has settled down, retired 5 straight on fly balls to the outfield.
If you were just watching from a distance, Alex Rios going after a ball, you would really appreciate how much ground he covers. Those long strides and the graceful loping running that he has. Do something. Not going to get that one until it hits the ground. As Josh Reddick slams a single to right field, his 3rd hit of the night. Reddick aboard with a triple and now 2 singles.
Reddick's been hot coming into the game. Over 10 games, he was hitting .387. Got off to a terrible start. That's why his average is still in the 220s, but he's picking it up the last couple weeks.
The 1 on, 1 out. Derek Barton will step in 0 for 1 tonight. He has walked, had a sacrifice fly, and struck out. First pitch from Martinez drifts off the outer edge. 1 ball, no strikes. Hayes now with 8 hits. Aaron Pareda and Nick Martinez have done a very good job. They have kept the A's off the scoreboard since the 4th inning. 1-0. And there's a strike. Pareda came in and took over for Yu Darvish in that 4th inning. Got the final 2 outs, giving up a walk, and then Nick Martinez took over to start the 5th. And he has allowed just a couple of walks and a couple of singles. Budweiser pitching line for Nick Martinez. Nick had 3 walks, 1 strikeout. The goose egg, though, in the run column. That's the important one. 1-1 to Barton. Snap throw to first, and not quite slapping the tag down in time. Prince Fielder did what he could, but Reddick just in under the tag. The 2-1. The count to Derek Barton. Martinez with that belt high set. And a snap throw to first. Oh no, thought he had him. And Prince Fielder thought they had him.
Definitely had a big lead. There's a quick move by Nick. They're checking out the replay right now. Let's take a look. It's tough to tell if the swipe tag got him or not.
Yeah,
if he did, he's out. Wash is 1 for 1 today with a similar kind of a tag, really, by Prince at first base.
So he still has that 1 challenge available to him. Here's a better angle I think we'll be able to see. Yeah, I'm not so sure he got the tag on him. Pretty tough to tell.
If he got the tag, then he looked like he got it in time. They're going to check it out. I don't know. Can't tell.
So the process begins one more time. As Tim Bogart talking to Joey Probinski upstairs in the replay room for the Rangers. And umpires, of course, talking to replay center in New York.
At this stage of the game, you might as well use your challenge. That's one that can go either way. Got one left. Go for it. Be very difficult to tell if you're Marcus Patillo at first base whether or not he tagged him when you're on the other side of him. Like that.
Right. Yeah, unless that tag is coming down almost straight down to where you can see if there's any daylight.
If he tags him right there, he might have gotten him before he got back to the bag.
Chris Fielder trying to sell that. So the umpiring crew is turned over to the capable hands of the folks in New York. They will wait for the replays to be reviewed back there and the decision rendered. Rangers had a play at first base back in the third inning.
Fans think he's out.
Yeah,
that gets a reaction every time they see it. And they're taking a good look at it in New York. It's not an easy call, even with replay.
Well,
is there convincing evidence? No.
He is safe. No, not clear and convincing evidence to overturn. So
I have to agree with that. I don't think we could tell for sure if he tagged him.
No.
Did you?
No, I couldn't. But like you said, there's no sense hanging on to the challenge if there's a close call. No, it's 2 balls and 1 strike to count to Derek Barton. Reddick remains at first, although the anchor may have just been dropped over there for him. Martinez ready. And misses outside. It's 3 balls and a strike. That took 1 minute 47 seconds that time. That's acceptable. First one you remember was 2 minutes and 16 seconds. 3-1. And a foul ball back to the screen fills the count. So Nick having to work overtime here. He's about ready to throw his 70th pitch of the night. Our Echo pitch tracker showing you the location of that last fastball, pretty much in the center of the plate, but down. 3-2. See if Reddick's on the move. Nick Martinez going to take maybe another shot over there to see if they can get him leaning the wrong way. Reddick checking with Ty Waller, the first base coach, to see if he saw the sign. And the fly ball to right center field. That's sending Leonis Martin back at the track. Leaping up against the wall. He makes the catch.
Look at this throw.
And he's going to throw behind the runner. And safe.
That would have been that would have been one of the best double plays I've ever seen.
The call by Jeff Nelson, the home plate umpire down there. A bang play, and now they're going to get together. Ron Washington can go out and ask him if he would review it, but it's up to the discretion of the umpires whether they review it now, and I believe they are going to review it.
That was number one. It was a great catch. All by itself, it's a great catch. And then you can count on one hand the number of outfielders, center fielders, who right now can throw this throw from the 407 sign on one hop to first base. What a throw.
Oh, it was.
It's too bad he didn't get the call on that. I don't know if it'll be reversed or not, but that is some kind of a double play right there if it is an out at first base. Great catch and another remarkable throw by Martin.
And I think that Jeff Nelson might have realized right there that he had missed the call, because he almost immediately.
Good point.
He almost immediately signaled for the second in command out there to join him for the replay before Wash ever came out.
Yeah, good point. That's exactly what it looked like.
Well, this probably won't take as long as the other couple of reviews.
Look, the players are coming off the field. They saw the replay.
Yeah, they can't do it. They've got to stay out there until the.
Took 2 steps, and the umpire told them, "Hold on, guys.
Right. You can't go in yet. You may know it, we may know it, but you got to stay out here until New York knows it." Nelson with the.
Got to be the quickest we've seen 2 replays.
Yeah, you're
back-to-back replays.
You're right. And it is the double play.
What a double play! Wow.
A good job by the umpires in that time without a challenge to get it right. Leonis Martin, a terrific play to turn it into 2. And the A's are gone. We're through 7.5. Remains 4-0 Oakland.
Has to be this 3-month-old, nicknamed Pudge, but his real name is
Javier Ramirez.
There you go. Here's to the how old?
3 months.
3 months. That's exactly right. That's what I said. 3-month-old. Thank you very much for bringing him out to the game. Congratulations to the Ramirez family for bringing little Pudge out to the game tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
He's not really interested unless it's something to eat.
I don't think he's too thrilled with the level of noise out there at 3 months old.
Well, 1 out as Josh Wilson, his first at bat of the night, grounds out to third. Leonis Martin 1 for 2. Had that first Ranger hit back in the 3rd inning. And he struck out last time up against Sonny Gray. Pitch is a little bit low. It's 2-0. Gray still just at 90 pitches here with 1 out in the 8th inning. Gray to the wind, the 2-0 pitch. That is a strike. Sonny Gray does not have a career complete game. He's gone 8 innings a couple of times. But, he might be in pretty good shape here tonight with a relatively quick 8th inning to maybe try for the complete game. Rip and a miss. And it's 2-2 to Martin. Back to the plate. And fouled down, and apparently not fouled. Strike 3. Jaso makes the tag, so that's strikeout number 6 for Gray. 2 away. Robinson Chirinos. AT Uverse Rewind. And this could be the one tonight on Fox Sports Live. Leonis Martin, a great play up against the padding, and he turns it into the double play after the umpires challenging themselves for the replay.
Well, that's one. That could have been the one with the catch or the throw. That should be the 2. Either one of them.
The 1-2.
Yeah, the 1-2. Either one of them requires watching the highlights tonight. Tremendous catch. Almost taking a home run away. Looked like it might have hit the top of the wall. Then the throw. That's a highlight in itself.
Oh, yeah. What's that, about 250 feet or 280 feet or so?
Let's see.
Something like that.
250. Yeah, about how much you say?
250 to 280?
I'd say more like 280, yeah. Because it's, let's see, the 377 sign. Yeah, I'd say it's about that far.
Yeah. Long way. We're just making a catch like that. And
man,
not only having the arm, but having the presence of mind to get it back in that quickly. Chirinos chops one foul. Still a ball and 2 strikes. You know, we've seen Leonis Martin make some amazing plays. I don't think any of them have been any better than that one.
No, he's gone from a guy that had to work on his outfield instincts and work with Gary Pettis before Wash was comfortable playing him out there when he first got here, to a guy that if he keeps going on these the way he's going right now and getting better, he's kind of a guy that you start talking about in the Gold Glove conversation. Got a ways to go, but there's not many Gold Glovers that can throw like that. Ichiro had a great arm, but he didn't throw better than Martin.
2-2 the count to Robinson Chirinos, looking down into the on-deck circle. A good thing to see as far as the Rangers are concerned. Yeah. Guy coming out to maybe to pinch hit for Michael Choice. Chirinos, ground ball to short. We'll have to wait till next inning to find out if Shin-Soo Choo might be a pinch hitter. 1-2-3 inning. Choo back to the dugout. A's back to the dugout with a 4-0 lead as we go to the 9th inning.
as they trail the A's 4-0 here in the top of the ninth. We'll have Rangers Eye presented by Esurance coming up right after the game. We'll take a closer look at Yu Darvish's career numbers against the A's as opposed to the rest of the league. Also, reaction from him and Ron Washington will set up Game 2 as well. Martin Perez with that 26-inning scoreless streak on the line. We'll have all of that and much more. Join me, Mac, and Pudge, and you never know whose jacket I might have on in the post-game show, guys. Back to you.
Okay, Dana. You're having a little too much fun up there in the Captain Morgan Club. Envious.
Well, Nick is on his way to a pretty nice long relief effort tonight. If he can get the last 2 outs in the 9th inning, he'll have thrown 5 shutout innings.
Then he gets the pop-up from Sogard. Elvis Andrews taking care of that. Here's Coco Crisp. And he takes strike one. Crisp has walked twice tonight and singled. He is 1 for 2 with a run scored.
It's pretty obvious what Wash is looking for from Nick tonight when he came into the game. What he was looking for is this is what he wanted him to do.
Yep.
Treat it like a start. Throw your 70 to 90 pitches. And so I don't have to use anybody else in the bullpen. I'll have a rested bullpen for tomorrow's game. And Nick has come through with just that kind of effort.
Become a closer in the 5th inning. Close the rest of it down.
Good job.
0-2. And the pitch up high as Crisp checks his swing. Crisp, a 262 hitter. Nick Martinez to the line. The breaking ball calls strike 3. Big overhand hook, and Coco Crisp caught looking for out number 2.
Yeah, last couple of innings, Nick has settled down nicely with his pitch count. It got up there a little bit in his first 2 innings, but he's rolling right now. His second strikeout. He's thrown 75 pitches, which is not bad at all for almost 5 innings. Settled down, done a terrific job.
Jed Lowry steps in. Takes the first pitch off the plate inside. 1 ball, no strikes. Lowry 0 for 3, although he was hit by a pitch in the 3rd. Only time he faced Nick Martinez tonight, he flied to left field. He's going to chop out here to Elvis Andrews near the bag in second. Very quick and efficient 7-pitch inning for Nick Martinez. So we're through 8.5. Rangers with 1 more shot. They will have Joyce, Andrews, and Fielder, or maybe Jude, trailing by 4. By Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PICK-ATT. Rethink possible. And by your Texas Ford dealer. Take the EcoBoost Challenge to see why Ford is the best in Texas. Bottom of the ninth inning, and indeed, Shin-Soo Choo is coming off the Ranger bench. He is going to pinch hit for Michael Choice. Shin-Soo, who went out from the second game of the series in Oakland last Tuesday night. That jammed heel, jammed ankle. And this is his first action since. Good to see him back out onto the field.
Yeah, definitely. It could be a prelude to seeing him in the game tomorrow night.
Pitch outside to him. Choo hitting .314, 2 home runs, 7 driven in. But the big number for Choo, the on-base percentage at .432. Gray back to him and drops a breaking ball over the outer edge. It is 1-2.
Sonny Gray threw 108 pitches in 7 innings in his start against the Rangers. That was his last start. He's thrown 102 pitches right now.
Choo lost a fly ball to left. Moss in and over toward the line. There to make the grab. That is the first out of the ninth inning. And it'll bring up Elvis Andrus. Sonny Gray has not had a big league complete game. Well, he is going for one here tonight. There's no action in the Oakland bullpen. This game is in his hands. And Bob Elvin, the skipper, saying, okay, young man, it's all yours. You've gotten this far with it. And very manageable pitch total.
You get the feeling, pretty safe feeling over the years to come without an injury. The A's are going to see a lot of Martin Perez, and the Rangers are going to see a lot of Sonny Gray.
No doubt. 1-0 pitch. And 2-0 to Elvis. Andrus has had 3 groundouts. Up there trying to get a board. Rangers need some base runners. There's Martin Perez. Opposite Chirinos is not only a teammate but fellow countryman from Venezuela. 2-0 pitch. And Elvis chops one to short. Lowry unloads in a hurry. And the Rangers now down to their final out. Prince Fielder coming up. Talked about Gray being a ground ball machine. He has been that again tonight. Only had 4 outs recorded in the air. Make that 5 in the air tonight. Strike to Prince. Fielder has one of those flyouts. That was his last time up. He flew out to left field. Line drive to right field. In a hurry, Reddick on the run makes the catch. And Sonny Gray has his first major league complete game shutout as he blanks the Rangers on just 3 hits tonight. Sonny Gray and the A's making up for the whitewashing handed to them by Martin Perez last Wednesday in Oakland. 108 pitch complete game effort for Sonny Gray, who improves to 4 runs. 1. So the Rangers gone 4-0 here tonight. Dana Larson, Mark McLemore, and Pudge Rodriguez back to wrap things up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.